Alright guys, so today we watch this video by Aarimous. Go definitely and check out his channel.
I've been using the Godot game engine for about 5 years at this point, so I thought it was a good time to take a step back and do a brutally honest review of all the things I love and hate about the Godot game engine. Now, instead of making this an hour-long video, I've compiled it down to kind of like the top pros and cons, and my biggest con of
I guess the pros are it's open source, it's totally free to use. Uh, it did a very good marketing competition that made other engines take them seriously, which made other engines better and made the marketing field better. I guess it's good because it's simpler to use than both Unity and Godot. Cons are there is not much of a community feedback over an old years, just like Unity and Unreal. It is a bit lacky in shader compilation, physics, and stuff like that. Uh, it lacks a lot in like programming features for a game engine, but this could be improved over the years. And yeah, maybe we can say it's not it's stable. It's been stable in the new updates, but it was a bit glitchy in the older updates. So yeah, it's a great engine to be honest, but it has its cons and pros just like others.
Godot is that it is a game engine, which seems like an oxymoron because maybe I am a moron, but the problem with a game engine is that it's a generalized tool. It was not designed specifically to help me build Chess Survivors or my new game Hexagod. It was built to build the general game. And eventually or inevitably with every project, I come across an idea or something I want to add to the game that I need to create a hacky solution to get the engine to do what I want it to do.
Yeah, I guess the one that we watched before, Plagiarism, had the same issue with the shader compilation. So he got a way to like load the whole level in 1 minute before the player starts. So it like compiles something. It's a very weird thing. So yeah, I guess if they fixed the stuff that are related to the cons we talked about, it would be a very amazing engine. But yeah, uh, it's still usable to make even commercial games.
And sometimes that really frustrates me. On the opposite side of it, if you used a framework or built your own engine, if you're doing that, kudos to you. I'm far too dumb to do that. You would be able to build the engine in a way where it would be very tailor-made to the problems.
I did that before to make a 2D game, and I worked in custom engines before. They are better if you are doing one kind of game. If you are creating this to make a game and the sequel of it for the future, but you will not make it generalized for all the games you will make in your studio. So yeah, only if you were like a triple A company, some triple A companies does that. But, yeah, you know. But it's good. It's a good skill to know. It makes you understand the engine that you are working in. Like studying I am GUI and stuff like that. Studying how to do stuff in OpenGL. Will and do like shader programming will make you understand how the game engine that you are working in is really working, which will increase your experience by far more.
You're trying to solve in your game. A game like Noita comes to mind where they have this falling sand engine where they built this custom way where every pixel is simulated, and it's a game I suck at, but as a game developer, I look at it and I am just in awe of the majesty of what they were able to create with their custom engine because I have absolutely no
It's
idea.
an amazing game. The systems, the thing that look like the particle system, the visuals are astonishing. It's an amazing game.
How I would do something like this in Godot. And so generally speaking, I've tried to make games that lean more into Godot's feature set, which is only something you can do once you understand all the tools in the toolbox. But even so, it's been pretty frustrating over the last couple of years to come across a problem or a specific idea for my game and have to come up with some weird and hacky workaround to get it to actually work. But it's not so big of an issue that I've ever
Yeah, that's why many people want to go with Unity and Unreal because it's a bit more advanced, to be honest. Like, yeah, Godot is very, very amazing. But keep in mind that if you struggle to add shader compilation, for example, which I don't know if they fixed already or not, or like similar errors, you will have a future problems in adding more complicated optimization methods or more complicated maybe gameplay methods. So that would be a problem to like find a solution for an implementation that shouldn't have like a very major issues, like maybe syntax or code issues or logic issues, but like not that you need to remodify the way that the framework that you are working in is working.
Realistically consider building my own engine, and it would likely be the case that I'd come across these exact same sort of hacky solutions had I used Unity or Unreal over the last 5 years. And then my biggest pro that I have probably taken for granted over the last 5 years is that Godot is a free game engine to use. It's an open source project, which means it'll be free to use forever. Like that is foundational to how the Godot ecosystem works. Now, full transparency, with my 2 commercial games, Hexagod and Chess Survivors combined, I've made around $30,000, which I'm a math major, so I can tell you is not even close to the $200,000 threshold which Unity has to require you to start buying.
Yeah, of course, many people do not even get close to the threshold that Unreal and Unity put. That's the total known thing. But it might keep you in mind, like if you are making a very big game, you like price per seat and taxes and how much percentage maybe Unreal would take after $1 million. This is if you were like working on a very big commercial game that you are sure that you will succeed in, and it gives you 1 million of players. But if you didn't, it does not really need to like care even for this stuff. It's okay. You probably won't like pass the threshold, and if you did, you will be able to pay them. Don't worry.
The pro license, and it's even further away from the $1 million threshold at which Unreal would start charging you royalty fees for using Unreal. But even given how far away I am from those actual thresholds, as a solo developer trying to make it on my own, there's a certain simplicity and reliability that I get from the fundamental nature that Godot is an open source project. I don't have to worry about them changing their licensing model.
And I guess most of the problems that the Godot users are the people that are using Godot to make 3D games. I guess it was intentionally designed to make a better 2D games, not 3D games, because many of the forums and the support messages that I read, or like help me messages, was about 3D. It was not about 2D, so I don't know about that.
Like Unity did last year or the year before, or having to go back and update old projects because they changed some sort of agreement. Like there's just a fundamental stability that Godot offers, and it's definitely something I've taken for granted over the last 5 years. Now, something I really don't like about Godot is that there's no native console support for porting your games over to other consoles like the Switch, the Xbox, and the PlayStation. And as somebody who...
That will matter to you a lot when you are making a game with a publisher that are specialized to be multi-platforming, especially if it was like online with a cross-platform support or something like that. So it won't matter to you right now until you need it. Then you will start panicking about it.
Who has a bunch of console friends, they can't play my games. And even though I haven't made a game that makes financial sense quite yet to port over to consoles, when I do, because I'm hoping to do it at some point, there's a huge market out there. There's what was $18 billion in 2024. And right now, there's no easy way to do that in Godot, which kind of sucks. Now, the reason that Godot doesn't do native console supporting is because there's legal liabilities, disproportionate costs, and issues with it being an open source project. So I love that it's an open source project, but it also has some drawbacks. And one of those, and in my head, one of the bigger ones, is that they don't have native console supporting. You can read more about this in this documentation here, or they have this really great and lengthy discussion about it as a post they made back in September of 2024. Now, interestingly enough, W4 Games was founded in the last couple of years by a couple of the core contributors to the Godot game engine to solve this problem of not being able to get these licenses for these specific platforms. So now you could partner with W4 Games to be able to...
Yeah, see, there's third-party solutions for this. Most of the errors in Godot, there is third-party solution for it. Even the physics engine, there is a custom physics engine that you could use besides the Godot-based one that are a bit glitchy in 3D. But it gets in the mind of players, or game developers, I'm sorry. Should I go for something that I need a third party each time I want to add a normal feature? That it's totally an advanced feature, but he thinks in his mind it's like a normal feature. Should I really go to that engine? But the security of Godot, of being open source, is also intimidating. Like, no one could charge you anything. You can't even not disclose if it was made by Godot or not, if I'm right, if it was like an MIT license. So it's intimidating, but in the same way, like, you are afraid if something will happen while in development.
Port over to the Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox, just like you would for exporting any sort of builds. The drawback is that it's going to cost you money to partner with W4 Games, so it's like $68 per platform. So I guess that's up to like $170 for all platforms, or about $2,000 per year. Now, interestingly enough, I was looking up to see how Unity does this, and you need a Unity Pro subscription, or whatever the heck a preferred platform licensing key is, and that Unity Pro license will cost you about $2,000 per year, which is pretty comparable to working with W4. I always thought that Unity...
So yeah, this is something the third parties will charge you as much as Unity and Unreal charge you, and maybe even more. So yeah, because Unity Pro does not include only cross-platform, it includes multiple features. So if you combine them, these third parties might cost you more. But it's okay to be pricey if it was for an open source.
You just got console porting for free, but it's not the case anymore. And so maybe that's kind of a wash if you're looking at Unity versus Godot for console porting, since now W4 exists. And like I said before, I haven't made a game that was profitable enough on Steam yet to make sense for me to port over to consoles, but I hope to in the future, and I'm really hoping that there's more solutions like W4 games out there that allow me to do console porting with Godot. Hey there, Aarimous from the future here. Zolo reached out to sponsor this portion of the video to have me share some exciting updates that could be really useful for game developers like us. Now, I didn't know about this, but back on April 30th, 2025, the US District Court made a groundbreaking decision in the Epic...
Yeah, I think this video is old. Epic Game won the court, I guess, like against
the
Apple
case. For the first time, developers are now able to direct players in the US from their iOS apps to alternative payment methods like web shops without violating Apple's platform rules or paying their fees. Now, Apple is expected to appeal that decision, so any information presented here is just that. It's information. It's not intended to be legal advice, so please consult your own legal counsel in that regard. That being said, it's already becoming an industry norm to have your own web shop for selling in-app purchases with added value on the web. So if you're looking for a reliable and professional way to set up your own web shop, Zola Web Shop is worth knowing about. Zola Web Shop is a fully customizable no-code solution that lets you quickly build a branded storefront with advanced features. And Zola only charges a 5% transaction fee, which is a pretty big drop from the typical 30% fee of traditional platforms. It also includes a built-in live ops tool that builds personalized player experiences with exclusive offers, tailored rewards, and additional benefits. Plus, integration is simple. It works with major mobile titles and is already trusted by some of the biggest studios as well as indie developers. So if you're a mobile game developer or any developer looking to monetize your game with a web shop, it's definitely worth checking out Zola Web Shop. There's a link in the description below if you want to learn more, and thank you to Zola for sponsoring this portion of the video. It's kind of interesting making this honest review of Godot because one of the...
Yeah, this is a good part, the community. Many people... Yeah, there is a community for Godot, of course, but the community of Unity and Unreal is way bigger, and the help from the community is way bigger, and the forums and the support, the glitch fixes that were reported from the community to the game engine developers is a lot. That's what would make the development easier.
More shocking things that I love about Godot is not the tools or the capabilities of the engine, but instead it's the community that has been built around the Godot engine. It is an incredible place. You go to the Godot subreddit and you see people posting.
Of course, and there is a downside that they are less, but there's a good side that most of them are supportive for the engine. Most of them make add-ons for the engine. They don't gatekeep like some people do gatekeep in Unity and Unreal. Most people in Godot are sharing it via GitHub and stuff like that, so it's more open. A very good community for a very good open source engine. But yeah, again, it's because it's a very small community, it's really hard to see the commercial AA or big titles glitches that may face you, so they are not discussed with the to be fixed with like the developers of the engine.
Their little projects or fun little memes or sharing the work they did, really cool ways they've used the engine, and even sharing small little updates about making a single dollar off their game. And you see just a bunch of really supportive comments in here, sharing like kudos to them and trying to lift people up. And if you had problems and issues,
So a healthy community would make you feel more comfortable and would make a very better game. So that's something normal.
people aren't going to be talking down to you or telling you to Google it. They'll simply give you the answer and share their perspective on the problem. And on top of that, because again, Godot.
But the thing with Google it or oh, fuck you, you don't understand it. I did not face it in game development community in general. I did face it when I first started learning web development when I was young. When I was young and started learning web development, it was a bit of a toxic community, to be honest. But maybe I was in a like a bad, not a good forum or something like that. But yeah, it was not the best experience, just like game development, to be honest.
Is an open source and free engine. I think that has created an atmosphere where the community shares their work openly. I have a lot of different posts and assets I've saved, which is just
if the big father like Godot is not hiding anything, why should people hide anything? They will just share everything for free, no gatekeeping.
Free code that people have shared. One of my favorite sites of all time, as someone who doesn't know how to use shaders, is godotshaders.com, which shares a bunch of different and awesome shaders that people have made available to use in your project as you see fit. So I think, from my perspective, the fact that it's an open source game engine that has a GitHub that you could contribute to has seeped into the community around Godot and created some really cool interactions that I've had on the internet, and created one of my favorite little pockets of the internet, being the Godot subreddit. Now, as much as I love the Godot community, it is a smaller user base than, say, Unity. For example, looking at last year's Stack Overflow survey, you can see that Godot is used by 4.4% of respondents, where Unity 3D is used by 5.9% of respondents. And that is not a big gap, but it is still a gap. And I think the biggest thing is that Unity...
And that's the tag of Unity 3D, by the way, because there's multiple tags. And this is just one website. But yeah, it's not a very huge, like, thing. It's like 20-30% of more users, but the gap is like these 30% users, the users of Unity have been around for longer, so they answered more questions about the engine. It's just like there is a time machine that's been used. It's not about how large the community, it's about the community were older in using this engine. And that's totally applied also for Unreal Engine.
has had a bigger user base for a longer amount of time. So as people have asked questions, there have been more tutorials created on YouTube. There have been more questions asked on the forums. And it's simply the case that in an environment that I think is already getting harder to find like text-based solutions online because people are creating YouTube tutorials, myself included, and people are asking questions in Discord, you're getting more AI garbage on the internet that isn't quite a good solution. Having a smaller user base is just going to make it harder to find questions that have already been answered. And if you're like me, you're a little impatient and you want your answer now. You don't want to wait for a week or so to get somebody to answer it on the forums. The other thing I really like about Godot is GDScript, which is the native language built to support.
Whether GDScript is amazing. It's simple. I'm not too much used to it, just like C++ and C#, because I've used them for too long. Of course, that's a normal thing, but GDScript is amazing, to be honest. It's not like the thing that you are used to in a custom open source engine.
Support Godot. It is Python-like, and I come from a Python background. That was the very first programming language I learned, and so I just kind of like how simplistic it is, and you can really feel that it was built for the Godot engine. And specifically, there's this feeling I get that the features and things that get added to GDScript are being decided by and like prioritized based off of what developers actually want, not based off of what will make the share price of the company go up. Because again, Godot,
of course, stakeholders, of course, the shareholders and the investors in Unity and Unreal. I guess Unreal is owned, but in Unity it sucked, and you saw the crisis that happened that time. It got fixed, but like it make people fear, well, what if it happened again or something like that. So yeah, they sometimes make stupid decisions. In my opinion, one of them is like generative AI for being not a third-party solution, but like inside the engine itself. To me, it's a waste of megabytes. I don't really believe in it. I don't really believe that it would help the engine. Someone wants it, let him just download the third party. So sticking to my opinion, I think it's just wasting some megabyte. So yeah, shareholders sometimes do a very stupid decision.
Godot is an open source project, so there is no share price and there is no owner of it. Like we all kind of own it, and it's funded by people who donate to the Godot Foundation, and also companies who have pledged donations to that same foundation. So just generally speaking, in the last 5 years, I felt this undertone and seen improvements come through in each version of Godot that make the engine better for developers to use. And I think that's something in the long run that I'm learning I really enjoy about Godot. The next thing I really don't like about Godot
makes you see the development in your eyes, which will make you feel like you are inside a story.
Is that there's no native asset store. I'm thinking not the Godot asset library, which is great. I'm thinking like the Unity app.
Yeah, Unity asset store is a big thing, but even big companies use it, its frameworks like Audio Inspector and stuff like that for prototyping or to testing, or sometimes even in their bigger projects. So yeah, asset store like does a lot more than not having one.
Asset store where you can buy models and you can buy animations and you can buy different things that I imagine are specifically built to be integrated directly into Unity. And I could probably find things I could use on the Unity asset store, but I just want to be able to have some place for me to go to say, oh, let me get a pack full of elemental spell effects, and it just works seamlessly right with Godot. Now, Godot does have that Godot asset library, which is full of add-ons, basically, that allow you to do specific things that maybe you don't want to handle yourself. The most popular one that I use myself is Godot Steam, which handles connecting into Steam to do leaderboards or get profile information, or maybe sending achievements to Steam and stuff like that. And so there are tons of really great add-ons that can help you make your game better, but there just isn't that same sort of like Unity asset store where I can go and buy.
for Unreal. The new fab is also amazing.
Assets from that are just usable right away in Godot and kind of integrate seamlessly. And I just get the sense from kind of rumblings on the internet that people who use Unity really do like the Unity asset store, and I think that's a big miss right now in the Godot. Godot ecosystem, and that could likely be something to do with it being an open source project. I think one of the biggest things I've taken for granted with Godot is how lightweight of an
Yeah, it's just download 200, 300 megabytes. So downloading Unity is like downloading a full video game which needs a launcher and stuff like that. Downloading Unreal is like downloading Code Modern Warfare 3 times. It takes a lot of space. But of course, the higher the gigabytes and the stuff, if it's a heavyweight engine, it gives you a very amazing details and plugins and stuff just like Unreal. And yeah, but it's certainly a very amazing thing to be a lightweight
engine it is, while still being feature rich. Like, I can open my project and it takes seconds to open. One,
yeah, mine takes
two,
like 12 to 6 minutes.
3, 7, 8. And that's a full project right there. It takes seconds to run the project. 1, 2, 6, 7. There we go. Now we're in the project. 7 seconds there. And it takes seconds to export the project. And this exports to Windows, Linux, and Mac all together. 3, 4,
Amazing.
9,
I could not say
10.
anything,
Boom.
but
There we
being a
go.
lightweight
And
engine
even though
is
it's a
very
lightweight
amazing.
engine, you're seeing really, really successful indie games come out of Godot, like Brotato, Buckshot.
So yeah, as I said, it's an amazing thing. Just like you said, this could not be made in like Unity or Unreal, even if you're making a very, very little game. So yeah.
Roulette, Turing Complete, Billionaire, and the list goes on. And quite frankly, I think it's going to keep getting more and more as more games come out, like Slay the Spire 2 is being built in Godot. So it's a really, really exciting time for Godot, especially just kind of how usable the engine is from a moment-to-moment basis. I think I've definitely taken it for granted that I can just quickly whip up a project together and get it to be working in kind of that really tight iteration loop as I'm spending my time doing game development. All things considered, I'm fairly surprised that over the last 5 years, I haven't really explored other game engines. And I think partly that's because I'm just focused on trying to make the best games possible.
So you should try most engines just to feel comfortable if you need to work with them in the future. And because it makes you think of features and stuff you didn't have, so you might even code them yourself into the engine. So yeah, check out other engines, of course. And yeah, these are very amazing advice by Aarimous. Go definitely and check out his content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.